Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. My name's Jasper and this is the Suzuki Vitara, which has had a couple of updates for the 2025 model year, and I'm going to tell you if it's still any good. Would you believe it? This generation of Vitara is coming up to 10 years old, but it's had a little bit of work done at the front to make it look newer. While most of the styling on this vehicle hasn't changed, one thing that has is the front bumper. It's been restyled, there's less bling across the grille here, and the shape of it down at the bottom has changed too. So it's a little bit more subtle, it looks like it's grown up. I do quite like it. You've also retained some of the chunky off-roady styling that the Vitara has been pretty famous for across all of its generations. You've obviously got your large Suzuki badge at the front. You've got some elements of chrome around the grille. This black plastic section does look very nice, and then you've got full LED headlamps with your indicators underneath them. Those are still halogens though. I like the styling, it's simple, it's effective, it's smooth. And on this trim, which is the Ultra top spec, you get front parking sensors. Not too much has changed around the sides. You've still got that famous chunky off-road cladding around your wheels. You do have new 17-inch alloys though, and these are a nice diamond cut kind of polish effect. Little bit of chrome bright work here next to your electronic folding door mirrors. These are heated and you've got blind spot monitoring on all trim levels of this car. I like these roof rails, they look nice and chunky and off-roady, make it look quite purposeful, and it's a nice boxy kind of old school design. I've got black tinted glass in my rear windows and some lovely gloss black trim around those too. The final thing you might notice at the side that's changed is you've now got a little bit of a side spoiler, and that goes up into this large spoiler across the back windscreen, which is also new. Not too much else has changed at the back. You've got these dark red tinted clusters, which we've seen before, and I do really like the styling. You've got your Suzuki badge here, you've got a reversing camera. All trims come with one of those. You've got your Vitara script over here, and then you've got the badge that lies over here. It says it's a hybrid. It's a mild hybrid, but you can only get the Vitara with some level of hybridization on all powertrains, whether you go for the full proper hybrid or the mild hybrid like this one. I like the styling, it's very raised. You've got this nice bit of off-roady chunky style cladding here and some lovely little bits of chrome trim along the bottom. Rear parking sensors, standard on all models. Your little exhaust tip down there and a couple of lamps down here too. Third level brake light up in this nice boot spoiler. And then you might notice this little button here. That's because I've got keyless entry and go. So I've got one on the boot and I've got one on each of the front door handle to open the car. Suzuki don't mess around and integrate things nicely. They kind of just go, you need a button? There it is. Have it. Around here you've got your fuel filler flap, which is released with a little lever in the driver's footwell. Petrol only on all models of the Vitara, although there is an e-Vitara coming later this year, which will be a different model to this. When it comes to practicality, not too much has changed either. So I've got 362 litres of space back here in this boot. That does include some space under the floor. Now, with this being the mild hybrid, I retain a large boot. If you go for the full hybrid, you essentially lose pretty much all of the space under this boot floor because that's where they put the bigger battery pack. The boot's pretty functional, there's not too much. You've got a couple of tie-down points, a 12-volt socket over here, a little hook for a carrier bag over here, and then some deeper pockets at either side. You can actually remove the plastic that separates those out, so if you want to get something wide, like a set of golf bats across the back of the boot, that's possible. And you've got a reasonably chunky false floor in the boot, which means that when you fold those 60-40 split folding seats down, you get over 640 litres of space back here, and a completely flat floor. One thing you will notice though with the Vitara is that it's being built down to a price, so things like the boot lid and the doors do feel a little bit cheap. Clamber into the back of the Vitara and what you're greeted with is a functional and a little bit practical cabin for this class of car. I am 173 centimetres tall and my head does just brushed the ceiling, and that's because I've got a large panoramic sunroof which is actually in two sections, so it opens really quite wide if you do that. So what that means is that somebody who's 182 centimeters tall might definitely begin to struggle for headroom because my hair is brushing this ceiling. What I have got is a decent amount of knee room behind my own driver's position, but again, if I had somebody taller in this driver's seat, I would begin to brush against the back of the seat. That's kind of the running theme with all of this car's competitors. If you want something in this segment that has better space back here, have a look at the Skoda Kamiq. When it comes to material, there is a mixture of kind of faux leather and Alcantara on the seats with a nice pattern embossed into it. It's pretty functional and it feels supportive. Now, if there was a third person in this middle seat, I would definitely be struggling for shoulder room because the car is quite narrow. So 4 people in the Vitara, no problem. A fifth one here, maybe only for short journeys, especially because there is a bit of a hump in the floor down there. There's not too much in the way of practicality. There's a map pocket on the back of the passenger seat, nothing on the back of the driver's seat, and yes, I've got a cup holder in the door, which does take a reusable bottle of water very nicely, but that's about it. There's no armrest, no cup holders in the centre, and even the third seat belt, irritatingly, is one of the ones that you've got to pull down from the ceiling. There are no climate vents down in the centre, no charging points, so that's basically it for the back seats. Yes, the seats are nice, but the rest of the materials back here I would describe as functional if I was being polite, and a little bit cheap if I wasn't. Step into the front seats, and it is a little bit of a step up because you do sit nice and high in the Vitara, but when you do that, you will see that yes, this car is definitely 10 years old on the inside because there are bits of the interior that are quite dated. There are 3 key reasons for that, and the first is the fact that you've still got physical dials with trip stalks on them. The second is that the material quality in here generally is again functional at best, a little bit cheap feeling on the doors, but you do at least get a nice squidgy dashboard, but then again relatively hard plastics pretty much everywhere else. And the third reason is Suzuki have tried to bring it up to date by sticking a great big 9-inch infotainment system here, and it's kind of worked, but you can definitely tell that that wasn't really there when this was originally designed. Still, you do at least have a pretty decent infotainment system, so if I put my ignition on, you get a nice little chime from the car. It will eventually turn on and the Suzuki logo will go away. Yeah, you can tell it's kind of like an aftermarket system that Suzuki have put their own skin on, because all of the menus are just a bit slow and it could be so much better. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which are wireless though, and that's standard on all trim levels, so I'd just use that and I'd completely bypass Suzuki's system unless you want to do something like check your fuel efficiency, which you can do, and look at your energy flow whilst you're driving. Coming below the infotainment system in the cabin, we've got physical climate controls, which is really nice to see. You've got a single zone of temperature adjustment, and it is fully automatic air conditioning, front and rear demist options, as well as a few different modes for your airflow direction, and then obviously air conditioning on and off. When it comes to practicality, the cabin is actually pretty decent. You've got 2 little cubbies down here, although both are slightly too small for most modern mobile phones. There's a little spare change pocket down here, and then the cup holders are irritatingly far back, but at least you do have them, and they hold a reusable bottle of water pretty well. That also does go nicely in the door cards, and you've got a big door bin down here. The glove box is really good, actually. It's surprisingly deep and pretty wide. Takes the chunky owner's manual very well, and then underneath this armrest there's a deep storage cubby. Below the infotainment system there is both a 12-volt socket and a USB type A port. That's another thing that dates the interior. And then you've got the holy grail of all car interior storage options, a sunglasses holder. What is really nice to see though generally is that all of the switch gear is proper buttons. You don't have to go into the infotainment screen to adjust your climate control. That's all in a nice panel down here. You've got proper buttons on the steering wheel. You've got proper buttons on the dashboard over here. And yes, this is keyless go, so I've got a start-stop button for the engine, but you do have to put your foot on 2 pedals to start the car because it's got a manual gearbox. One thing Suzuki have always been pretty good at is making something that's actually quite pleasing to drive, and the Vitara has been no exception to that rule. It does drive and ride very nicely, and the fact that you've got a manual gearbox does mean you get a little bit more driver engagement. It's a nice gearbox, you can row through it, it's pretty precise, and it latches into gear in a very pleasing manner. The 6-speed manual gearbox in this is mated to a 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol engine with a 48-volt mild hybrid system attached to it as well. So that means you've got a combined starter generator, which both is there to start the engine, but also the 48-volt battery pack and motor attached to the engine with a belt are just there to give you a little bit of an extra push during periods of heavier acceleration. The mild hybrid element means that your WLTP claimed fuel economy for this is over 52 miles to the gallon. And I don't actually see why, with careful driving in the real world, you won't be able to achieve something that's actually surprisingly close to that. In the week that I've had the car, I've been averaging 49 miles to the gallon, and I don't exactly have light feet. On a longer distance journey, it's very easy to see between 55 and 60 miles to the gallon. So in mixed driving, expect to see at least 45 to 50. The 1.4 litre engine produces at its peak 129 PS and 235 Newton meters of torque, both of which are okay numbers, but there could be a little bit more power because 0 to 62 miles an hour in this takes 10.2 seconds. Don't fret, you think, there's a proper hybrid version, that must be quicker. No, it's slower. So if you want the fastest version of the Vitara, you need to get the 1.4 litre turbocharged booster jet engine that you get in this with the mild hybrid system. Because the naturally aspirated 1.5 litre engine in the full hybrid system, despite the additional motor and power you get from that, is actually heavier and slower, taking nearly 13 seconds to do 0 to 62 miles an hour. So if you're going to buy one of these, I'd definitely be picking the manual. When it comes to ride and handling, I'd describe the ride as firm and relatively well damped, but that does mean that you do feel bumps in the road, you just don't get an unsettled ride. It corners pretty flatly and very well, actually. It feels nice and planted on the road, and you do get a good amount of confidence from the chassis. Unfortunately though, there's not quite as much feeling from the steering as would be ideal. So while yes, you can throw it into a corner, you don't really get anything back to your hands. If you want something that offers you a bit more driver engagement in this segment, the Ford Puma is the one to beat. One thing you do struggle to beat in this segment though is the sheer amount of kit you get as standard in the Vitara, and that's because all trim levels come with blind spot monitoring, clever cruise control which is actually somewhat adaptive, although obviously the car won't fully stop if it's manual, and then you get things like this infotainment system, speed limit recognition, and lane keep assist and auto steer for motorway driving. So that means it's very easy to do a long distance journey in the Vitara. If you look in your gauge cluster, you get a nice little graphic which shows you where the power is flowing from the hybrid system. Obviously, this is a mild hybrid, so the electric motor generator cannot drive the car by itself. The engine is the primary mover and always will be. All of your controls are nice and light. The steering is light, you don't get much feeling. The gearbox is light, and all of the pedals are incredibly light too. The balance of them is very nice. The throttle, pedal and brake feel pretty good, and I found the clutch to be devoid of feeling, to be honest. It's quite difficult to gauge where the biting point in this is, and then because the engine's not overly powerful, you can stall it. What I would say though is it's a nice little engaging drive, and it's quite an enjoyable vehicle to drive. Your seating position is good, there's plenty of adjustability. Despite the seats all being manual and having no lumbar support, they are very comfortable. Suzuki have got the very human elements right, so everything falls easily to hand, the controls are easy to interact with, and it's just an enjoyable little thing to drive. There are a couple of things that are missing. Unfortunately, you can't get heated seats in this, and when the purchase price of this Ultra, which comes with your sunroof, etc., is pushing just past £29,000 if you include something like the metallic paint, you do struggle to kind of pinpoint exactly where that money's going. But one thing you will definitely get with the Suzuki is incredibly good reliability. And despite the manufacturer's warranty only being 3 years as standard, if you service it at a Suzuki dealership, you will get another 10,000 miles or 12 months of warranty, all the way up to 7 years and 100,000 miles. It's a very reliable car from a brand with a good reliability record, and in the real world, it's very easy to achieve near enough the WLTP economy, so it will be cheap to run. So, the Vitara, summed up, yes, it's been updated slightly, but can you tell it's still quite an old car? Yes, absolutely. That doesn't mean it's not a pretty easy recommendation. So if you like the styling, like the option of all-wheel drive and the hybridization options available to you, it's definitely worth checking out. That is everything for today's video, so if you have enjoyed it, please do let me know by liking, commenting and subscribing to the Buckle Up YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. There are a few different ways you can support us, all of which are linked in the video description. Those are our merch store, going and buying some things that say Buckle Up on them. Our social media are all linked there as well. Please do go and follow us in all of those places. And if you'd like to stay right here on YouTube, we do also offer channel memberships. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!